95 Honda Accord with a screeching power steering pump, and I believe the screeching sound is a result of air leaking into the power steering pump either at the intake or the discharge fitting. Now, I had the same problem with this car about 4 years ago, and I replaced the O-ring on the intake side, but I didn't replace the O-ring on the discharge side. So today, I'm going to replace both O-rings, and hopefully that's going to fix the problem. Let me crank it up so you can hear the sound of the screeching pump. As the engine's running, we're going to look down in the power steering fluid reservoir. We should see bubbles forming in the fluid, and that's a clear indicator that air is leaking into the system. And it only makes that screeching sound when the engine is cold and the outside air temperature is cold. Once the engine warms up, the screeching goes away. And right now, I do have a cold engine, and it's 45 degrees. The noise we heard from the pump, that's a clue that I have a problem. The bubbles in the fluid, that's a dead giveaway. Air is leaking into my power steering system somewhere, most likely a failed O-ring. I'm going to replace both of them. Before I replace the O-rings, the first thing I want to do is put a couple of rags underneath the power steering pump, because when I take these fittings off, a little bit of fluid is going to leak out. It's not a lot, but I don't want any fluid to get on the belts below or on the alternator or AC compressor. There's one bolt on the low pressure side and two on the high pressure, and they're all 10 millimeter. And it's as simple as taking the old O-ring off, replace it with a new O-ring, get a little bit of power steering fluid, and coat that new O-ring with it. Take a rag, wipe off the surface to make sure it's clean, and then reinstall it. Get your bolt back in. Now 2 bolts on the high pressure line. This one doesn't want to budge. I got to use a cheater bar on this one. There we go. Probably the first time this bolt's been off in 26 years. That one's not budging either. This one's not going to slide off as easy. There's a little groove there that catches it. I'm going to have to get something to pick that out. I can feel a difference in the rubber. The one on the right, the old one, is harder. And it's visibly smaller as well. It's not as thick as the new one. And that's to be understood. It's 26 years old. So now I'll just slip the new one on. Get a little bit of fluid again and coat the new O-ring. Wipe off the surface and push it into place. Get the bolts nice and tight. Double check this one. And we're good. That's it. I'm not going to crank it up now. I'm going to wait till tomorrow morning when the engine is cold and the outside air temperature is cold. I want to duplicate the same conditions we had this morning when we did hear the screeching sound. So today's Thursday, December 17th. I'll be back in the morning tomorrow, December 18th, to crank it up. 7:47 a.m. the next morning, December 18th. Temperature's 33 degrees. So 12 degrees colder than when we cranked it up yesterday. This will be a good test. Let's crank it up again. Hopefully no noise from the pump and no bubbles in the reservoir. Well, a much colder start than yesterday, 12 degrees colder, no noise from the pump, no bubbles in the fluid in the reservoir. So replacing the 2 O-rings fixed my problem. And if you hear noise like that from your power steering pump, or you find bubbles in the fluid in the reservoir, don't automatically think you have to replace the whole pump. It might be a cheap and easy fix. It might just be an O-ring. And look for a link below in the description to the eBay page where I bought these O-rings. They're about $7.50 for the pair. And on that webpage, there's a list of compatible vehicles. These O-rings fit 652 Hondas and Acuras from model years 2013 back to 1994. So look for that link down below. Hope this helps you out. Thanks for watching.